Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to our June product update. My name is Chris Walsky. I lead product marketing at Solace. And today I'll be joined by our Chief Product Officer, Shawn McAllister, our VP of Engineering, Ed Funnicotter, and Product Manager, Daryl McRae. They're going to be sharing some of the important advancements we've been making to our platform, PubSub Plus. As you'll see, we're currently focused on enhancing your observability and governance capabilities within the platform. And as always, on making it easier for you to integrate a wide variety of applications with your event mesh. But before I hand the presentation over to Shawn and team for those important product updates, I'd really like to kick this presentation off by highlighting some of the important innovation our customers are driving with event-driven architecture and with PubSub Plus. So Le Mousquetaire is a French retailer that operates over 4,000 stores under the Marché brand in France. They've built a digital backbone for event-driven communication between a wide variety of apps and systems to support omnichannel customer experience and to really drive new operational efficiencies. So for example, now when a customer submits a new order of groceries online, that event gets sent in real time to update an inventory system. So for example, the store and other customers know what groceries are still available for purchase, to trigger the preparation of the order in store, to launch an order tracking process in a mobile app, and more. Heineken, you'll probably know, is a Dutch brewing company. They have over 165 breweries in more than 70 countries, and they produce more than 300 different types of beer. They've actually made event streaming a core tenet of their integration strategy, and they're using it to ensure fast, reliable, and robust integration processes. So for example, in the past, when they received large and unpredictable bursts of new orders of beer, some of those orders would get lost or duplicated, resulting in lost revenue and frustration all the way down the supply chain. To address this problem, they put our event brokers in front of their cloud-based integration technologies. And this is now ensuring that orders never get lost or duplicated and that they always get processed in an efficient manner. TELUS Agriculture is a division of the world-leading communications technology company, TELUS. They're using PubSub Plus as the data distribution backbone to connect, digitize, and to exchange real-time information across agriculture, food, and consumer goods value chains. In fact, one of the use cases their CTO, Jeff Bradshaw, shared at EDA Summit recently was around their cold chain product, where they're putting sensors on crates of strawberries to track the temperature of the strawberries as they're transported by truck across Queensland, Australia. So there, the real-time temperature readings ensure that the drivers of the trucks keep their trailers cool throughout the transit. And that really helps to maximize the shelf life of the strawberries. So these are just three of many customer stories. We're really thankful to be able to share them here because sometimes, as you know, when you're deep in the technology challenges and deep into the solutions even, you lose sight of the business impact and of the real positive impact that these technologies and event-driven architecture can have on people's lives. Okay, so that said, on now to the technology, to the product update. And as I pass the presentation over to Shawn, please be sure to send us your questions as you have them throughout the presentation. You can do that via the Q&A button, and we'll be taking up all of those questions at the end of the presentation. Okay, over to you, Shawn.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris. So I'm very happy to be here with you all today and to share with you what's happening in Solace Labs and in our product strategy and what's coming to you soon. And first, I'd like to provide a bit of context where if you take a look at what's on the screen here, right, all the enterprises out there today really have a strategy or they're embracing several of these different types of initiatives. So, you know, they have APIs or they're coming up with an API strategy. They're moving to the cloud, and so they have hybrid cloud and often multi-cloud strategies. They're decentralizing their data warehouses to create a data mesh. They're connecting their things with IoT technologies. They're modernizing their integration infrastructure with iPaaS. They're taking their monolithic applications and breaking them up into microservices and often event-driven microservices. And they're taking advantage of analytics to be able to improve their customer experience, their operational efficiencies, and so much more. And we at Solace, we firmly believe that in order to be a real-time connected enterprise, that underpinning all of these initiatives needs to be an event mesh. So event mesh is not another green label that you see that you put up at the top, but it really underpins all of these initiatives and helps bring them together to make an enterprise real-time and connected. And I'll talk more about that in this presentation. So let me hop into the first topic that Chris was describing, which is the things that we're doing to enhance our integration capabilities with the rest of your ecosystem. And first, before I do that, I want to kind of back to level set about the PubSub Plus platform and how that enables the creation of an event mesh. So an event mesh is a network of interconnected event brokers that you can see on the screen there that allow you to produce an event anywhere in your enterprise and consume it anywhere else in your enterprise. And they're connected together to form this kind of network. And you put your event brokers on-prem, in your non-cloud, in your private clouds on-prem, in your public clouds, your maybe perhaps multiple public clouds, but also your remote locations like stores and warehouses and factories. And we have some putting them close to mines for connected mine, for example. And you connect that all together, and that becomes effectively the Internet of Events for your enterprise. And then as part of our platform, you can configure this entire event mesh infrastructure from a single pane of glass that we call Mission Control, which is available in PubSub Plus Cloud. So you can go to one place and have a single pane of glass to deploy and upgrade and manage all of your event brokers and your event mesh. And then PubSub Plus Insights on the right then gives you a single pane of glass to be able to see, to aggregate all of the logs and all of the metrics and all the alerts happening within your event mesh, so you can manage that in real time from one place. And then all of the other assets in your enterprise connect into the event mesh, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then the event portal, PubSub Plus Event Portal, then gives you the ability to design and catalog and govern and lifecycle manage your events, the topics, the schemas that they carry, to know which applications are publishing and which applications are consuming what events where. And that is the entire PubSub Plus platform. So it gives you everything that you need to make EDA a reality inside your enterprise. And if I zoom in here on connectors, we have lots and lots of connectors, right? So we have connectors into MuleSoft and Boomi and SAP for easy iPaaS integration, and those connect into the event portal, for example, so that you can easily have a seamless experience in those iPaaSes. On the left, we have connectors into your favorite analytics platforms. And then on the bottom, we have connectors that connect into Kafka and other messaging systems and cloud services. And that's what I'm going to talk about here in this presentation. Now, we've worked with a variety of third parties to provide connectivity to non-event source assets in your enterprise. But what I'm announcing today is the introduction of our PubSub Plus platform connectors. Now, these are connectors that are built on a Spring Cloud Stream applications infrastructure, so that open source project, and it leverages the binders, the Spring Cloud Stream binders that we have produced for some time now, where clients have created source and sync applications and processor applications. And so we're going to leverage that now to create a set of connectors. And you can deploy these connectors on their own as a Spring application, or with Docker. You can deploy them into Kubernetes. And these connectors, all of them will have a common high availability capability, so that if you're deploying outside of Kubernetes, you can have HA failover among them. They have built-in metrics, so you can point your browser at a connector and see all kinds of metrics available to you for troubleshooting and debugging. And then they integrate with very popular monitoring tools, so that in production, you can see all of these metrics and alerts in Datadog, CloudWatch, Dynatrace, Prometheus, New Relic, whatever you happen to use. And these connectors are available as open source projects that you can just take and deploy yourselves. And of course, we'll offer paid support for those of you looking to put it into production. And we're starting, as you can see on the left, with JMS connectors into IBM MQ, TIBCO, and others, because we have lots of customers who do cap and grow of their existing messaging environment into Solace. And then we'll be rolling out connectors quickly after that into change data capture, file connectors, and many more to come. So look for our first connectors to be available in July as those come out. And yeah, we're quite excited about this as a way that we can provide many, many on-ramps and off-ramps to the event mesh, and that we'll be able to churn out very quickly. So we're quite excited about that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is something that we call Kafka Mesh. Now, Kafka brokers and Solace brokers have a different architecture, and that is why they're deployed quite often together, because you use kind of the right tool for the right job. And so we'll end up in situations where, for example, people can't just deploy Kafka on its own because there are many things that it can't do well. For example, connecting to IoT devices. You need MQTT support, and Solace supports MQTT 3.1.1 and 5.0 natively in our broker. So we can connect all of your thousands or hundred thousands, or for some of our customers, millions of devices, and aggregate that information into Kafka. We provide the ability to both filter messages and preserve the sequence of events that were generated. And that's critically important for various types of microservices who need to see events occur in the order that they were produced. And in Kafka, because of the partition architecture, you can either have sequence or you can have filtering in the Kafka broker, but you cannot have them both at the same time. So we have lots of situations where people want to deploy Solace for that. We have clients who deploy multiple types of Kafka. So they might use MSK in Amazon, they might use event hubs in Azure, and maybe Apache Kafka on-prem. And so we can connect that hybrid Kafka deployment together over our event mesh, right? And so many reasons why you would want to have our two technologies together. And if you want to have a deeper dive on that, I highly recommend that you go to EDA Summit, to our EDA Summit website, and take a look at the talk by Sumit Puri, where he goes into detail about why these technologies fit so well together. Now, many of our customers have been deploying us together like this for quite some time. And in some cases, they use our source and sync connectors, which we produce. And those sync and source connectors live inside a Kafka Connect infrastructure. So if you have a Kafka Connect infrastructure, you can take our connectors, deploy them into there, and get bidirectional connectivity between your Solace event mesh and your Kafka clusters. And that's all great, but we have clients who don't have ready access to a Kafka Connect infrastructure, and they'd rather not deploy it. And at the end of the day, more connectors is more software, more to deploy, upgrade, monitor, manage, etc. And yet this Kafka mesh is so popular with our customers that what we've decided to do is to integrate the Kafka connector functionality directly into the PubSub Plus event broker. And this fits naturally because we are by nature a multi-protocol broker who speaks multiple languages and protocols. And so now you'll be able to go to the PubSub Plus event broker, and through our CLI or our GUI or our SEMP API, be able to configure connectivity to any flavor of Kafka cluster, whether it's Confluent, Apache, MSK, Event Hubs. And with nothing in the middle, no more software to deploy or configure, you now have bidirectional connectivity. And at the end of the day, from a solution point of view, this is obviously much simpler architecture to deploy and manage and maintain. Simplicity also means greater robustness. It's lower cost. It's fantastic. And it will be available this fall, North American time, right? So for us, so look for this early September for an early access, or later on in the fall, I should say, for early access. And like with many of our features, we release them as early access before they're GA. And so this allows our user base to take it and use it and experiment with it, get to know it, and provide us some feedback. So look for that later this fall and contact your Solace account team if you're interested in participating in our early access. Now, as I move on to other connectors, as I was saying, the Solace Event Broker is natively multi-protocol, where we support MQTT and AMQP, and you can have messages go between these two types of clients. So you can have IoT clients using MQTT, producing events that are received over AMQP or over web sockets, for example. And for some time now, the Solace Broker has integrated natively with cloud messaging technologies like SNS or Google PubSub or Azure Service Bus without anything in the middle. And while we've been working at this for some time now, what I'm happy to say is that we have finally gotten to the point where the Solace PubSub Plus broker can now send events natively and directly to all of the serverless technologies in the major clouds, as well as all of the data lakes in those major clouds. So As part of your EDA, if you're embracing a serverless type of architecture for various things and you need to trigger an AWS Lambda or a Google Run or an Azure function, you can do that by going into a purpose-built wizard in the Solace event broker and configuring all of the Lambda specific configurations or the Azure function specific configurations and trigger a serverless application on the receipt of an event. And you can do the same thing with wizards to be able to then push events into S3 or Azure Data Lakes, all with nothing in the middle, which is quite exciting. So it's a great way to be able to have a holistic EDA environment in a very, very simple, operationally simple manner. Now, in terms of making our technology available, as we talked about last time on our update, our technology has been available in the AWS and Azure marketplaces for some time now. Solace technology is the foundation of SAP Cloud's event mesh, and SAP Cloud is called the BTP, the Business Technology Platform. And now I'm happy to say that our technology will be imminently available in the Google Marketplace. SAP will be announcing a new OEM with Solace imminently as well. And our Docker container for our broker is available in the Red Hat Marketplace. And so for the hyperscalers in those marketplaces, for our clients who have cloud credits with AWS, Azure, GCP, and you'd like to buy Solace technology with those cloud credits, you can do that. If your preferred vendor is SAP, you can buy Solace technology through the SAP OEM. And then with Red Hat, you have all of the security conformances that have been done for our Docker to be part of that marketplace as well. So we're quite happy to be able to expand and make it easier to access our broker for everyone. Now, moving on to observability, and this is something that I'm very excited to talk about. If you take a look at event mesh, our event mesh today, and frankly, any event broker out there or streaming technology, those technologies today are unfortunately a bit of a black box, right? So it's very difficult to tell, whether a message was published and who published it or when they published it. And if it was published, where did it go? Or if you were supposed to have received it, why didn't you receive it? And if you're working in a microservice environment where you have a distributed application and an event has to pop around to multiple different parts of your microservice, and overall the application is slow, how can you tell from a performance point of view which hop along the path is slow so you can fix it? So in essence, it's very hard to know what's going on inside your event mesh or inside your streaming technology. But what if you could see if a specific message was ever published, which application published it, and what time they published it? And you could tell exactly where it went, hop by hop, through your event mesh. And you could see which application, where it was queued, and whether they received it, and how long it took them to process it, or why they didn't receive it, right? What if you could do all that? If you had all kinds of visibility into, at an event level, what is happening within your event mesh? Well, that is exactly what distributed trace allows you to do. Distributed trace shines a great big light on your event mesh and gives you all kinds of visibility as to the life cycle of a message, all the time from when it was published and received by the event broker, who published it and what time, where it was enqueued, where it was delivered and when, whether it was acknowledged or rejected, whether it was moved to the dead message queue because of redelivery attempts, because of time to live expiry. And this happens across all of the event brokers in your event mesh. And so what we've done with distributed tracing is we're embedding this directly into our event brokers. So you can't tell if you have telemetry at the edges of your event mesh, you can't tell what's happening inside the event mesh. So the event brokers themselves are going to emit telemetry information in an open telemetry standard format that say things like what's circled in red, right? That an event was received by the broker, it was enqueued to a particular event queue, and it was acknowledged by an application, for example. And each event broker will emit that. And what that means is that for all of the applications using your event mesh, whether they're instrumented for open telemetry or not, you'll be able to see all this information. And whether it's IoT devices with MQTT, whether it is a Kafka connector, whether it is your serverless functions, all of the users of the event mesh will benefit from the fact that the event brokers themselves will emit all this telemetry. And then the fact that we're using open telemetry as a standard then means that you can integrate this with all of the other monitoring tools that you use that support open telemetry. So you can have one place where you can see if there's open telemetry, for example, events emitted from your API gateways, your iPaaS, your microservices. Now you'll be able to add the same type of visibility for what's happening inside your event mesh. And this is all coming this fall. So again, this is such a significant feature that we're going to release an early access version of this. And this is the one that we're targeting for a September timeframe. And so if you're interested in our EA program, talk to your account team and we'll put you on the list. But honestly, I think this is a game changer. It takes you from black and white TV to 8K high definition. It's a fantastic feature. And so now as a special treat, because you've all been so good to join this webcast, we're going to have a specific demo of distributed tracing. And now I'd like to turn it over to Ed Fonnecotter, who's our VP of Core Product Development, to walk you through a demo that is fresh out of our labs and just ready to go. Ed, over to you.
Thank you, Shawn. Hi, everyone. Today, I have the privilege of showing off a very early version of our distributed trace feature that my team is building right now. First, let's look at the distributed application graph as shown in Event Portal. This graph represents the distributed application of the fictional Solace customer, Acme Retailer. Acme Retailer recently acquired a new company and is integrating their legacy order management system into their own event mesh. In this demonstration, I'm going to be showing off the legacy order management system, sending order status events into this event mesh. As you can see, the order status events go to 3 different destinations: the analytics application, the customer relationship management application, and the e-commerce application. To demonstrate this, I'm going to use 3 simulated applications over here on my screen. On the right-hand side, we can see the analytics application, the customer relationship management application, and the e-commerce application. On the left-hand side, I have a legacy order management system, which is able to send order status events into the event mesh. It's now warming up and is about to send order number 60 into the event mesh. We can now see that 2 of the applications received this event, but the analytics app did not. So as an operator of this network, you might soon be getting a call from the analytics team, wondering where their events are. And this is where distributed tracing can come in to help you debug the application. So to demonstrate this, I need to dive into the physical network diagram of their event mesh. Here you can see that there's an on-prem location and a cloud location. Within on-prem, we have a Solace broker. Legacy order management system is connected to it. It bridges into the Azure location and has the other 3 applications connected to that broker: e-commerce, analytics, and customer relationship management. Another very important thing to notice here is that the open telemetry collector, as shown here, is connected and receiving events from each one of these applications within the event mesh, including, and most importantly, the Solace event brokers. Open telemetry is a third-party application and is built to receive events from all types of different applications and collate them. In this example, we're passing that information on to the Jaeger DB. This Jaeger application allows us to search, view, and perform analytics on this trace information. So next, I'm going to move over to the Jaeger UI. Within the Jaeger UI, I'm able to search for specific traces that apply to specific events that have gone through the event mesh. In this particular case, I know that the legacy order management system annotates every order with an order identifier. And I can search for that order identifier within the Jaeger UI. So I'm going to grab the tag name that represents that order ID. We can see here it's Solace User Properties Order ID. And I'm looking for, I can go back to my applications here, for order number 60. So if I search for order 60, I can find the trace that pertains to that exact order that went through the event mesh. So we can dive into here and see the details of that order status event that went through the event mesh. We can see that it initiated at the legacy order management system. It came into the 133.54 broker, transited to the 133.52 broker. This is in Azure Cloud. And we see that it was only received by two of the events, or two of the end applications. So why did it not get to the analytics app? Fortunately, we can dive into any one of these different components, in this case, the broker side, and we can look at that trace information. I'll just quickly show that there's a wealth of information that you can see for every one of these events. And if we look at the logs, we can see the specific things that happened to that event as it went through the broker. The first one is AD receive, that's assured delivery, which is our guaranteed messaging service within the broker. It received the message, it then enqueued it to e-commerce, it enqueued it to customer relationship manager, but here we can see there was an error. There's a status message to say that the endpoint was shut down, and that's why analytics did not get this message. So I can remedy that. I'll go over to the web manager for that broker, 133.52, and go look at its queues. If I click on queues and look at analytics, I can see that the incoming side of that queue was turned off. I can fix that. Apply that. And if I go back to my legacy order management system and send another status or order status event, I should now see that the analytics app has indeed received the message. And in fact, I can go back to the Jaeger UI and verify that that all looks good within there. So I can search for order ID 61. I can view that event. And thankfully now I can see that e-commerce, customer relationship management, and analytics have now received the event. So before I finish, I just want to mention that because this is such an early stage of development, I can only show the receive and enqueue events within the brokers. Soon, there will be event delivery and acknowledgement events that we can view. Having this information will allow an operator to view the complete life cycle of events as they transition the event broker. This will allow you to debug who has received it, if they've actually acknowledged it, and even how long it took for them to process it. So that's about it for my demo. I will mention that if you're interested in trying an early access version of the distributed trace feature, please just contact your Solace sales representative. Thank you very much. And back to you, Shawn.
That was great. Thanks a lot, Ed. I hope everybody, when you've seen this demo, I hope you're as excited as Ed and I are about how this is, distributed trace is a total game changer. So now I'm going to move on to talk about event lifecycle management in the event portal. Now, the event portal has for some time now been used by customers to define their events, their schemas, their topics, and the applications that produce and consume them and allow them to manage their particular environment. But of course, what happens from a software development point of view is that you move your applications from dev to QA to pre-prod to prod. Maybe there's a few more in between there. But as you move your software from one place to another, you need to track and be able to handle which versions of which event definitions and schemas are where. And as you get hundreds, if not thousands of events, this becomes critical to be able to understand exactly what is deployed where. And so we've gotten this feedback from our user community, and that's exactly what we've done now is built lifecycle management into Event Portal. And so you can see here that you could define, let's say, an event and its schema and promote it from dev to QA to pre-prod to prod environments. You can have different versions of these artifacts. And so you can see I'm running 1.2 in prod, but I've evolved to 2.0 in development. And so it's important if you're going to consume an event to know which version of that event is where, to know if it's being deprecated. So there's various lifecycle states associated with it. And all the artifacts are versioned so that you can have different instances of them in different places. So we're very excited about this. This is a big change to the event portal. And again, we're lucky enough now to give you a second demo as part of this webcast, where I'd like to invite Daryl McRae, who is a product management director responsible for Event Portal, to give you a quick demo of our lifecycle management capability. Over to you, Daryl.
Thanks, Shawn. I'm really excited to show the new lifecycle management capabilities of Event Portal that you just mentioned. So Ed showed how distributed tracing can be used to troubleshoot and pinpoint event flow issues. And in the end, he actually confirmed that the order status event instances from the legacy OMS actually made their way all the way to the application queues for the analytics, the CRM, and the e-commerce applications. But Acme isn't done there. Like most organizations, they have to debug errors, create new updated versions of apps, and promote those applications through their dev and test environments. So, and eventually all the way into production. And that is where the new lifecycle management capabilities of Event Portal are really powerful. So in this demo scenario, the Acme retailers CRM and e-commerce applications are missing event data. It's been reported that some instances of the order status event actually are missing the customer ID information from them. So let's see if we could use Event Portal to troubleshoot and resolve the issue. So if I go into the designer and the Acme retailer application domain and the list of applications, I can take a look at the legacy order management system. You can see all of the old versions of that application, including where the latest version is deployed in dev, staging, and prod. If I drill in even further, I can see here that that the latest released version is publishing the order status event, as we would think, but it's a deprecated version of this event. So let's drill into this event and see if there is anything we can find out. Okay, so there is a new version of the order status event. It's actually 1.2 that is released. And so the latest release version, if I click on it, I can see actually in the details that we've added the customer ID to that event data. So you can actually see that data is actually there. We can also see who's subscribing to that event and which other applications are publishing that latest release of the order status event. You can even see the payload schema for this event and can confirm that the customer ID information is actually part of that schema payload. So now to resolve the issue, let's go back to the legacy order management system and take a look at this latest version, and let's update to create a new version to publish the latest released order status event. So if I duplicate the latest version that was available, create 6.3, I can see that the published event is still order status deprecated. We will update that to publish the latest released version and not the deprecated version. I'm going to save that application and notice that it's saved in the draft lifecycle state that can be edited. Now I want to test this application version in the dev environment. So I'm going to change the state so nobody can edit it on me to released. So now it's in a release state, and I will move this version to the dev environment, development, and the dev event mesh. Now, if I go to the new runtime event manager, I can see the different environments and the different event meshes that we have there. If I go to the dev event mesh and view the details, I can see all of the applications that are part of that dev environment and deployed in that dev environment, including the previous version of the legacy OMS, which I will remove as I want to test the new version in the context of these other event-driven applications. So if I remove that version of the legacy OMS app, I can then go on to test this combination of applications in the dev environment. After successful testing, you'd obviously want to promote these to the staging environment and eventually on into production. So I can show you how that we would do that is add to another model event mesh, select the staging environment and the staging event mesh, and add that application into staging, and then eventually promote it all the way into production. So I can even go into the catalog afterwards and see that the new version of the legacy OMS application is already documented. You can see which environments all these application versions are deployed in. And of course, you can see all of the events that are flowing through all of the different event meshes in each environment as well. So I'm really excited that you'll soon be able to take advantage of these lifecycle management capabilities and really tightly align your event portal usage with your SDLC processes. These are the very tools that event-driven enterprises need to design, maintain, and evolve their event-driven architectures. Back to you, Shawn.
That was a great demo. And so now you can see how much evolution there is with the event portal and the functionality and it being able to properly model your software development lifecycle. So now, coming back to other things about the event portal, today the event portal is offered as a SaaS, and it's part of Solace Cloud. And there's a lot of benefits to a SaaS, right? You don't have to install software, you don't have to upgrade it, and very importantly, new features are added literally weekly to all of Solace Cloud and Event Portal in particular, and you don't have to do anything to take advantage of them. But we absolutely recognize that many of our clients are not allowed to consume a SaaS like that for regulatory reasons, for internal governance reasons. And so for that reason, we're producing a self-managed version of the Event Portal that you can acquire and run inside your own environment, on your on-prem or in the cloud. And the self-managed version is a microservices-based application that you can deploy into Kubernetes and bring up in your own environment and experience the magic of Event Portal within the confines of your own network and the systems that you control. And in July is when we'll be releasing a proof of concept version of this. So this is not a version that you can put into production yet. That will be coming later on. Then we'll announce that. But for a proof of concept, you can take it, deploy it within your own environment, and start to use it. And we're quite excited about being able to do that. So that's it for the product update this time. Now, maybe what I'll do is I'll pass it over to Chris. And Chris, we're going to take a few questions, right?
Thanks, Shawn. Great presentation by you and the team. I do want to get to many of the questions that have come in throughout the presentation. Before I do, though, I just wanted to remind everyone on the call that we have a large and vibrant community that you can join for free to get fast answers to your questions, to get early visibility to roadmap, the ability to impact it. So you can join our community for free at solace.community. And I encourage you to do so. Okay, now let's get on to the questions that came in over the presentation. So first question that came in is for you, Shawn, and it regards SAP Advanced Event Mesh and our offering there. So specifically for SAP ECC, do customers need a SAPIO or SAP PO to use the Solace powered event mesh and send that data to Kafka?
Okay, good question. So I'll break this up into a few chunks. So you do need something to other than Solace to extract events from ECC. So a SAPIO is one option, and Solace is an SAPIO partner, and we resell it. If you happen to have a PO, you can use that, and that integrates well with Solace. If you happen to have Boomi, for example, they have ways of extracting events from ECC. So all these are possible. Depends, to some extent, from a commercial point of view, how you want to deal with this. All those would push events into the Solace event mesh, and then using our Kafka connectors, you can then send that into Kafka if you need to for analytics. Another option, though, is that if you are a big SAP customer, then SAP has an OEM with Solace as part of what they call the SAP Integration Suite, Advanced Event Mesh. That is a Solace cloud offering that is commercially provided by SAP. It's got all the SAP colors on it. It's supported by them, sold by them, and will do for you the things that the Solace Event Mesh does, which you could purchase from Solace directly. So multiple ways to do this, depending on what you're interested in. And I'd encourage you to follow up with a local Solace rep, because actually we have an entire team working with SAP on the OEM portion as well, so they can get you much more details depending on your situation.
Perfect. Thanks, Shawn. Next one that came in was for you, Ed, and it regards the demo that you shared, very specifically in relation to order number 60, which was not received by the analytics app in your demo. Is that event lost forever, or what's your response to that question?
Yeah, so no. There's a couple of things I've mentioned here. I mean, one is, of course, we have the replay feature. So if that application found that it had missed messages, it can either through administrative operation from the operator or from the application itself request a replay on that queue to get or get events that it had missed in the past. Secondly, I'll just mention that queues also can be configured that if they are unable to receive a message, but a message was being delivered to it, they can force a negative acknowledgement back to the publisher so that the publisher is aware that that event did not go through the message or go through the broker.
Thanks, Ed. Next question we have is regarding, I believe, the applicability of our cloud platform and event portal to our software and appliances. So this one I'll throw to you, Daryl. So the question specifically, I'm wondering if the on-prem, so I'm wondering if your event portal and tool set, if and when it might be applicable to software and our physical appliances.
Yeah, so thanks, Chris. So basically, it's applicable to software brokers and appliances now, Event Portal. So you can design and catalog all of your event-driven architecture components in Event Portal now for no matter what underlying hardware it's running on or form factor. And even the discovery functionality will connect, to cloud services, but to software brokers, message VPNs, or message VPNs or meshed message VPNs on appliances or any combination of that. So it's applicable now to all form factors of the broker themselves.
Perfect. Thanks, Daryl. Daryl, I'll stay with you for the next one. Will a modeled event mesh be connected and stay in sync with brokers or event meshes in production?
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons we created the modeled event mesh concept in Event Portal, is basically to map to actual event meshes in the runtime. So one of the next things we'll deliver, and we've already started working on it, is the ability to connect to the brokers on a continual basis, basically. So you can do periodic scans, upload that data, that raw data, audit it against the design time intent, flag discrepancies, and then enable users to keep it in sync on an ongoing basis. So that's exactly why we basically modeled the event meshes in Event Portal itself.
Thanks, Daryl. Okay, this one I'm not sure between Ed and Shawn, whoever wants to step up. Will there be open telemetry metrics and logs for the Solace brokers in addition to the open telemetry distributed tracing?
So at this point, we're focused really entirely on doing open telemetry for the events going through the brokers themselves and the APIs, of course. Over time, we'll see. We have a long list of sort of iterative design on this to add more and more facilities to open telemetry. So sometime in the future, this may happen, but at this moment, we're focusing just on, tracing the events going through themselves.
Excuse me. Thanks, Ed. Next question, I believe, I think this one probably for you, Shawn, or Ed, since we have you. With MNR, we used to have alternate routes in case we completely lost a node, submarine cable issues, complete outages of network power, etc. Will this feature of alternative route be available for DMR in the near future, or backup bridge, or is a backup bridge the only way to currently solve for alternate route?
So yeah, you're right. Like at this moment, we don't have that same facility with MNR, but we are right now going through a process of designing our next set of features for DMR. And we have project managers right now talking to customers about what customers would like to see in our next version of DMR and how we can improve this. So, I mean, for sure, there's ways to avoid this problem within the DMR construct, but at this moment, we don't have a specific feature to look at that, but we are looking at a wide range of different features for DMR to make it work, as well as possible for all of our customers.
Thanks, Ed. So I'm still seeing many questions come in. Just, I do want to take it up a level for some that are attending that may be closer to the business and the business problems. Shawn, I'll throw this one to you. What are the business use cases specifically for Kafka mesh that are different than deploying standalone brokers?
Yeah, so because the Solace broker architecture is quite different than Kafka, as I was saying before, we get used together for various use cases. And I'll give you an example, right? So we have a client of ours, for example, who runs their payment processing application, their microservice-based, event-driven microservice-based payments application on Solace. And then what they do is those payments events are then pushed into Kafka, where they do all kinds of analytics on them. Similarly, we'd have credit card purchase applications that manage all of the credit card management events that occur, push those into analytics, and then the analytics then do things like they generate events that notify customers, right? Like purchases above a certain amount, for example, or your total credit usage is above 80% of your limit, things like that. Notifications to clients are generated by these analytics applications that run on Kafka, but the payment system itself, the processing system itself runs on Solace, and even the events generated from the analytics, right, of notify the customer about the following things, those go back onto Solace to then be sent out through SMS or through email or however the customer likes to contact. And so we see a lot of that where the real-time applications that need in-order processing of filtered messages, very low latency, that kind of processing is done on Solace, analytics on Kafka, very common.
Thanks, Shawn. Back to you, Daryl, on the hot seat. When will Event Portal on-prem for the on-prem version of Event Portal be available?
Okay, so basically we have a solution now on Event Portal 2.0 towards the end of July for POCs only. So we're basically creating that Event Portal 2.0 POC version, so you can actually evaluate Event Portal without going through all of the security teams. So that's the new version that I just demoed to you. Next year, we're looking to productize that solution sometimes in 2023. There's obviously a lot of work to do to make it, highly scalable, resilient, replace a lot of the services we use in the SaaS solution. And that's what we'll look to deliver sometime in 2023.
Thanks, Daryl. Okay, so we were hoping to keep this to 45 minutes. I have one last question, and then we'll wrap up. I'll put this to the group, and anyone can answer. Is there a free developer option for the self-hosted, something similar to open source? Who wants to quickly answer that one?
Yeah, I can take that. So yeah, there's a standard edition that's available that you can get from Docker Hub, and you can take it, download it on your own, use it. It's completely free to use. It's fully featured, except for I think DR is not available in it. But other than that, all the features and bells and whistles are available there. And should you move forward and put it into production, then you can buy optional support for that. But yeah, take it, use it as long as you want. Importantly, if you do that, go to the community and get community support on this as well as you try to do certain things. We have a great docs site, so you can go there, get all information. We have a vibrant community of people who want to help each other out. Yeah, and do that. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Shawn, and thank you, our panelists, and thank you everyone for joining today. If we didn't get to your question, I'm going to try something new. Instead of promising you we'll get back to you by email, I'm going to say, please sign up for the community and send us your question there. And let's see how that goes. So thanks again for joining us. We're going to end the webinar now.